Jack, who occupies the right side of the bathroom, Jill, who occupies the left side. Jack, who brings to the bathroom reason, order, and clarity. Jill, who brings life, music, and energy. Jack, who has methodically placed all of the toiletries on the bathroom counter. Jill, who seizes the day enough to not worry about the whereabouts of her toiletries on the same counter. Jill, who seizes the day. Jill, who seizes the day the second she steps out of that bathroom, taking risks, pushing boundaries, urging her little brother to do the same. Jill, who looks forward to every new opportunity that comes her way. Jack, who looks back through his notes on implicit differentiation, back through his desk drawer to make sure everything's organized, back through his watch again section on Netflix to see if there's anything worth rewatching. He just can't push boundaries like she does. He can't step out of his shell. He wants nothing more than to live a life as free as his sisters, but he knows that once they leave that little yellow bathroom and step out into the real world, they are different. And there's nothing he can do to change that. But no matter how much Jill encourages her little brother to let go, she accepts him. She appreciates him. In the bathroom and in the real world. Jill brags about her little brother to her friends, saying his outfits are cool, he's funny, he's smart, he's there for her, he's just a good guy. Because there aren't a lot of those these days, she says. Jill, who takes pride in having a brother like him. Jack, who brushes it off. He's not used to being praised like that. Well, okay, maybe he is, but not by his sister. Not by the one he looks up to the most. So when Jill tells Jack how highly she thinks of him, he responds saying, "I'm a work of your creation." Because that's what he's used to. He's used to her having the credit, her being the one people recognize, her being her, and him being her brother. And you might think it's a bad thing, one sibling being so out there and the other sibling not. But he actually prefers it that way. And she knows that he prefers it, so she stands big and tall and casts a huge shadow over Jack because she knows that he feels safe there, with her in the spotlight and him in her shadow. Jack, who dreads the point in time when all of his hugs with his sister become tight ones. He knows it's quite strange to dread that, who doesn't love tight hugs, but to Jack, tight hugs either mean goodbye or hello again. And keep in mind, Jack isn't an affectionate person. He doesn't hug people often. But when he hugs Jill, he holds on to her tightly because he knows that he either has to let go or catch her as she flies back towards the ground after being up in the clouds for so long. Either way, he dreads tight hugs because he knows that he has to let her go eventually. And that's what he dreads. He dreads letting go. Jill, who is like a balloon. You hold onto the string for as long as you can, as tightly as you can. When you accidentally let go, she flies away into the sky, and you're half sad that she's gone, but you're half marveled by the sight of her finally flying, weightless, limitless, and you almost resent yourself for ever having held onto the string in the first place. So yes, Jack dreads letting go, but it also excites him, because he knows that soon he'll look up into the sky and see her flying higher and higher, and she won't pop, she won't break. And that's what Jack admires most about his sister, her ability to keep rising. Despite all the people who see a balloon in the sky and wish nothing more than to grab it by its string and pull it back down to earth, she keeps rising beyond their reach. But that means that she'll keep rising beyond her little brother's reach too. But hey, that's a sacrifice that he's willing to make. Because a balloon rising far beyond the clouds is something you don't see every day. Jack, who compares his sister to random things like balloons, while Jill compares herself to other people. Why are you not as smart as her or as pretty as her? But Jack doesn't write stories about her. He wonders, how can Jill possibly compare herself to her when he sees nothing but perfection in his eyes? Sometimes he forgets that his sister is a real person with real fears and real insecurities. He knows that she's not perfect. He knows that she has her flaws, but in his eyes, that all fades away. She doesn't always see that. So he writes on his wall, "If only she could see herself through my eyes," because he doesn't have the words to tell her directly. Jill, who writes to him, "The world isn't ready for kids as good as you." Jack, who responds with an appreciative text and a sticky note up on his wall, she'll never know how much that meant to him. Because he doesn't have the words to tell her. He never has the words. He wonders, how does Jill always have the words? He watches her engage in conversation after conversation, talking with such ease, asking all the right questions, saying all the right things, showing a person that she cares. But Jack, he stays quiet, answers questions with as few words as possible, doesn't ask any of his own. he leaves it to Jill to speak for the both of them. It's not that he doesn't care, it's just that he doesn't know how to show a person. So instead, he hangs up sticky pieces of paper on his wall of things that he wishes he could verbalize, hoping one day he might finally have the words to tell her how much that meant to him, how much she does. Jill, who makes her little brother want to write about something other than himself, something bigger than himself. He'd spent years writing about himself, his worries, his fears, his insecurities, until Jill made him realize that good writing doesn't have to be about yourself. She writes about the world, politics, racism, empathy. She just writes what she sees. So Jack, used to following her example, tries to write about what he sees. And what he sees is his sister. He'd spent years watching her, seeing her. He sees her talents, her fears, her flaws, her passion, her desires. He sees her resilience. So as he watches Jill write about what she sees in the world, he writes about her. And he realized that good writing doesn't always need a problem, because there was no problem with her and him. So he writes Jack and Jill, a story about a pair of siblings who couldn't be more different, but who couldn't be more the same. A story about a boy who keeps to himself and a girl who shares enough for the both of them. A boy who's always seen the best in his sister and a girl who's seen the best in her brother before it even existed. A boy who wonders who will make him laugh once his sister lets life carry her away, and a girl who wonders the exact same thing for herself. An older sister who looks forward to a new chapter of her life, and a little brother who looks back at an old one. Where the lives of two siblings, no matter how fundamentally different they might have been, would intersect for a brief moment in time in a little yellow bathroom. Where two siblings looking in completely opposite directions, one forward and one backward, would finally look inward. In a shared space that always seemed to allow them to catch up with each other after being caught up in their own individual lives for so long. A space that always seemed to block out the noise of his incessant worrying and her demanding lifestyle. A space that always seemed to bring out the best in each of them, no matter how close the walls might have been to each other. A space designed for Jack to fall down and break its crown, and for Jill to come tumbling after. A space they like to call the Jack and Jill bathroom. The gateway between worlds, the bridge that lives up to its name in every possible way. It created Jack and Jill, an inseparable pair that now, unfortunately, has to separate. But don't worry. Jack has learned how to fix his own crown now, Jill, thanks to you. But never forget that the bathroom door will always be open, waiting for you to come back home and let Jack come tumbling after this time.